Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rogers TV presentation of Federal Election 2025 Middlesex-London All Candidates Town Hall. I'm Chris Soares from Rogers TV, joined by my co-moderator, Executive Director of the Strathroy District Chamber of Commerce, Donna Palmer. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to introduce you first to all our 6 candidates from the riding that'll be on the ballot come the end of the month. From left to right, representing the People's Party of Canada, Cynthia Workman. From the Conservative Party of Canada, Leanne Rood. From the Green Party of Canada, Jim Johnston. From the Liberal Party of Canada, Kent Keenan. From the New Democratic Party, Taylor McIntosh. And from the United Party of Canada, Sean Cartledge. Just want to go over how this is going to work. This is going to be a timed event. We're going to start with each candidate having opening remarks for a total of 2 minutes. Then we're going to go through some questions that were submitted by the public. We had good participation on that, so thank you to those of you watching who submitted questions. And then each candidate's going to have 2 minutes for closing remarks, and that'll wrap things up. When we go through the question period, we're going to rotate through the table of candidates, so each candidate's going to have a chance to answer a question first, and they'll be allotted 1 minute and 30 seconds for that answer. Any other candidate who wants to chime in on that particular question will have 30 seconds to do so. And they will see my hand go up, which will indicate they have 10 seconds to finish their answer. And if they're over, they're going to hear that. So that's how we're going to do that. Any questions, candidates? Are we good with that? Okay. Let's get started with our opening comments for 2 minutes, and we'll start with Cynthia.
Firstly, I'd like to thank Rogers for holding this candidate meeting, my fellow candidates, and the good people of Middlesex-London for being here tonight. So good evening. It is with great honor that I am your candidate for the People's Party of Canada, and it will be an even bigger honor to be your MP in Ottawa, something I've dreamed of since I was 13. The People's Party has the right solutions to bring back our country to health, social harmony, prosperity, and unity. The PPC was the first, and in most cases is still the only party to denounce mass immigration, extreme multiculturalism, authoritarian COVID mandates, climate alarmism, radical gender ideology, anti-white woke DEI programs, globalism, sending money and weapons to Ukraine, corporate welfare, unconstitutional federal intrusions into provincial powers, and many other disastrous policies imposed by the Liberals and supported by the other establishment parties. Since the launch of the PPC in 2018, we've had by far the boldest, most relevant, and most consistent political platform in the country. Our policies are all based on 4 fundamental freedoms: freedom, responsibility, fairness, and respect. A People's Party of Canada will balance the budget the first year by cutting $60 billion worth of nonsensical spending and cut taxes the following year, restore the balance of power, and return to a system of true federalism that respects the Constitution and empowers provinces to take charge of their own affairs, respect provincial jurisdiction, and end all federal intrusion into all areas under provincial responsibility, such as healthcare, education, and natural resources. We will replace healthcare transfers by giving the provinces control over GST, abolish Ottawa's unconstitutional spending power, and abolish all new national programs created by the Liberal government, review all programs that overlap or undermine provincial responsibilities, reform unfair equalization formula program, and drastically cut the amounts distributed to provinces. These are just a few of the many changes we intend on making to begin repairing Canada's broken system. A vote for me in the PPC will mean you're putting grown-ups back at the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Leanne.
Good evening, and thank you to Rogers TV for holding this debate, and to the Strathroy Portuguese Club for hosting, and a special thank you to all of you who are watching today. My name is Leanne Rood, your incumbent Common Sense Conservative candidate for Middlesex-London. We're here because we believe Canada is at a crossroads, and the decisions that we make in this election will shape not just our future, but the future of our children and our grandchildren. After nearly a decade of Liberal government, we see the impact every day. The cost of living has skyrocketed: groceries, fuel, home heating, it all costs more. Seniors on fixed incomes are being stretched thin, and younger generations are struggling just to get a start in life. Housing prices, rent, and mortgage payments have doubled. Many families can't afford basic essentials, and parents worry about their children, that they won't be able to afford a life here in Canada. The Liberal government's answer: more taxes, more spending, more bureaucracy. They've made life harder, not easier, and they don't plan to change their ways. But there is another path, one rooted in common sense. A Conservative government will bring home lower prices by eliminating the carbon tax in its entirety for good. We'll bring home stronger paychecks by making work and retirement more rewarding with investment and savings benefits. We'll restore accountability and fiscal discipline so that we can protect the public services Canadians rely on without leaving a mountain of debt for the next generation. We believe in preserving what makes this country strong. That means supporting our agriculture and energy sectors, securing our borders, and ensuring public safety. It means respecting the people who built this country while making it possible for the next generation to thrive in it. It's time we put Canada first for a change. This country was a place of opportunity, and it can be again. And with your support, we'll bring it home.
Thank you. Jim?
My name is Jim Johnson. I'm with the Green Party of Canada. I'm a professor at Fanshawe College. I teach business, international business, so I know a couple of things about tariffs, okay? I too would like to thank Rogers TV for allowing us to speak to so many people in the audience here and in your homes, and also to the Portuguese Canadian Club for providing a wonderful facility for us to be able to have this conversation. I think it's important for everyone to inform themselves about the issues before they vote. The Green Party believes in having evidence-based policy, which means that we believe in science and that we move forward based on what we believe will be the best impact for the society. We believe in strong communities. We believe in having fiscal responsibility. And we believe that we should also make all of our decisions with an eye towards what's the impact on the planet that supports us. We have many, many serious, urgent, and important issues facing us right now. And it's important that we have balance as we look at all of these issues. We can't solve them all at once. It's going to take a long-term strategy. And it is my fervent hope that the people who are sitting in the Parliament after this election will work together to create a plan that we can keep, instead of having plans that get thrown out every time the government turns over. I believe that we can create such a plan together, and I believe that we should work cooperatively to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Kent?
Thank you. Thank you, Rogers TV London, for organizing and broadcasting this All Candidates Forum. Thanks to the Portuguese Canadian Club for hosting us tonight. Thanks to you, Chris, for moderating. Thanks to my fellow candidates for making time to participate. Public debates are essential to a healthy democratic process. And thanks to all of you for coming out in this wintry evening to hear candidates address the issues and answer your questions. I'm Kent Keenan. I'm your Liberal candidate for Middlesex-London. As you know, this is a new riding with a mix of new voters. As your representative, I need to connect with the diverse urban communities in North London, as well as with rural communities in small towns in Middlesex County. I grew up in Kamoka and later London. My mom is from Ridgetown, and I spent many summers at my grandfather's farm there. I got my BA from Western in political science and French, and I got my MBA from Queen's University. I went on to work for Northwest Airlines from Delta and Edmonton, and then Ottawa, and then finally Toronto. Now I live in Port Stanley. I feel as though if I've come back home to my roots. I'm excited to be running to represent Middlesex-London. We can all agree that I think this is the most consequential election of our lifetime. We're at a crucial point in two ways. First, climate change now exposes us to huge risks, both physical floods, wildfires, and drought, and economic. And second, once our stable democratic trading partner, the United States, has upended the whole system of global trade, and they want to make Canada the 51st state. We can't control these two things.
Thank you, Ken.
Yes, thank you.
Taylor, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Taylor McIntosh, and I am proud to stand here today as your NDP candidate for Middlesex-London. I'm a third-generation public servant, a frontline worker, and a mom raising my daughter right here in this community. I've lived the reality so many of us are facing, choosing between rent and groceries, fighting for health care, and watching our small towns get left behind. I'm here because the system isn't working for the average Canadian, and I want to change that. We need leadership that understands the struggles and fights for everyday people, not the billionaires, and that's exactly what I'm ready to do. As a mother and frontline child and youth worker, I know firsthand how the decisions in Parliament affect families every single day, from healthcare access to childcare to job opportunities. I'm ready to fight for a future where no one has to struggle to make ends meet, where families can finally see real change for real people. I'm running because our communities deserve a strong voice in Ottawa, one that understands the growing challenges and the incredible potential of our new riding. The complexities of our new map bring both opportunity and challenge, and I am prepared to bring the needs of our rural communities with the concerns of our growing urban areas. From affordability to the green transition to our struggling infrastructure, I'm ready to represent you. Thank you so much to Rogers Television, the Portuguese Club of Canada, all of you here tonight, and the ones watching from home. I look forward to answering your questions, and I'm grateful for this conversation. Please connect with me afterwards if you have any more questions.
Thank you, Taylor. Sean?
Okay, good evening. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight and supporting us. We appreciate your efforts. I want to thank everyone watching from home, excuse me. Also those that have participated in hosting this event at the Portuguese Club and Rogers TV. And again, an honorable mention to Chris Soares, which I've just fell in love with this week. Great guy. What an exciting time to be alive. Good evening, and I want to thank you for having me. My name is Sean Cartledge. I'm a proud Canadian, born and raised in London, and currently reside in rural Newbury. I am a husband, father, and grandfather. I have served my community as an outreach minister for over 30 years, representing the United Party of Canada with strong core values. I am a genuine person who has a passion for answering real questions, answering real questions with real answers, and having genuine conversations as I've served the vulnerable sector of our community for over 30 years. We are in a serious battle for our country. We are losing control of our sovereignty rights and freedoms. We need to unite and stand together and advocate for all citizens of Canada. We stand for life and not death. Our main concerns are the devaluation of human life, inflation, euthanasia, abortion, unless it's to protect the mother during delivery, child protection, freedom of religion, fiscal debt recovery, and the lack of responsibility thereof. We believe that our goal is to be an ambassador of the 7 spheres of influence that are in our culture every day, including government, media and communications, arts and entertainment, business and provision, education, religion, and family. Family being
Thank you, Sean.
the core.
That's 2 minutes. Thank you. Let's move to our questions from the public, and I will remind everyone here, I do have a co-moderator. That's Donna Pammer from the Chamber of Commerce. So I'll throw it over to Donna for question number 1.
Great. We're going to start with Cynthia. This question is for you, and it's from Allison in Mount Bridges. Allison asks, how would you help reverse the stigma of all talk and no action when it comes to representing your residents at the federal level and making our riding and its concerns a priority?
Thank you for the question. Yes, I look forward to going to Ottawa and representing the good people of Middlesex-London, and I know how to get things done. The way I will get things done is I will be an active participant not only in Middlesex-London but also in Ottawa. My party, you don't have to vote with my party, so that means we don't have the whip vote. So if something in our party doesn't align with something that the good people of Middlesex-London want, then we vote, and I consult with the constituents, and I vote the way my constituents want me to vote. That's the difference between my party and the rest of the parties up here. So I work as a psychotherapist now, and I know how to advocate, system navigate. I can bring the same professionalism that I do in my practice to the good people of Middlesex-London and make sure that they know in Ottawa who Middlesex-London is. Thank you.
Thank you. Leanne?
Thank you very much for the question, Allison. For 6 years, I have prided myself on going door to door and answering every constituent that has come through my office, whether it's an email or a phone call. And my priority is the constituents in Middlesex-London. And contrary to what my colleague has said, we are able to bring those voices to Parliament, and I am able to vote freely in Parliament on the issues that folks in this riding tell me to vote on. So I have that freedom to vote what the people want.
Thank you. Jim?
The Green Party also believes that our job is to represent constituents, all of them, not just the ones who voted for us. And that's been a strong principle that we've exercised in the House of Commons through Elizabeth May and the other Green Party members of Parliament.
Thank you. Kent?
Thank you. Growing up here in Middlesex County, I have no problem going and talking to everybody and bringing their concerns to Ottawa. That's my job. That's why I'm here. Please, in this community, when I get in, have no problem reaching out to me, because I'll take it to Ottawa. And I'll fight for you guys for anything you want. That's what I'm there for. Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor?
The NDP stands for real people, real experience, and real change. With only 25 New Democrat MPs, we brought you dental care. We brought you pharmacare. Those are the things your community is going to rely on to ensure that you can be healthy. We want to ensure that we have proportional representation and a party system that represents you. And so it's not just the Blues against the Reds. We need to ensure that we have grassroots members of Parliament that represent the average Canadian. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean?
Yes, I'm very excited to be in this riding. I've been traveling across Ontario. I've been in front of people for many decades, and it's time that the people are asking to be heard and responded to. I'm very excited about the changes that are at hand and the changes we're going to bring. The people have been speaking to me of all different cultures, all different races. They want change.
Thank you. And Cynthia, did you have a final comment?
I would like to reply to the NDP comment. First of all, the people that bring the dental care and the pharmacare to Canadians is Canadians with their taxpayer money. Also, that's not a federal thing. That's unconstitutional, and it's overstepping provincial boundaries.
And Taylor, did you want to reply?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to question number 2. And this is going to be asked to Leanne for a minute and a half. It's from Josh in Kamoka. Not just your party's platform, what is your platform to help support people that have disabilities? Leanne?
Well, thank you very much, Josh, for the question. I've heard from many folks over the last number of years, including those with disabilities, how hard it is to get by right now, especially if you're living on disability. Groceries are more expensive, home heating's more expensive, rent has doubled, mortgage payments have doubled, and those folks who are the most vulnerable are having a really tough time getting by. Conservatives believe in putting more money back in your pocket through programs that will help make affordability happen again. For instance, number 1, cutting the carbon tax. The carbon tax has made everything more expensive. And contrary to what my Liberal opponents would say, the Liberals have not gotten rid of the carbon tax. The carbon tax has simply been put down to 0. It takes an act of legislation in order to do that, and Parliament hasn't been sitting. So we are going to remove the carbon tax once and for all, which will help bring down the cost of groceries, which will help bring down your home heating bill, which will help make everything in your life more affordable. Conservatives have always supported all the programs that we have in place right now, and we will continue to do that going forward.
Thank you. Jim?
The Green Party is committed to preventing the erosion of fundamental human rights. And that includes human rights in a number of categories, including disabilities. In the provincial election, we promoted the notion of doubling rates for ODSP and Ontario Works. And at a federal level, we promote a guaranteed livable income, which will help people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Kent, would you like to respond?
Yes, this is a good question because I actually am disabled. You'd never know it by looking at me. But I have to tell you right now, the government is excellent with disability, with the certain things I get. And I know a lot of people that are disabled. And it's, the Canadian government has got to be the best, I think. I mean, the ODSP is a provincial thing. It could be raised a bit, but we really are treated well by the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor?
Canadians living with disabilities deserve to live with dignity, not in poverty. The fact that nearly 1 million disabled people in this country are still struggling to afford food, rent, and medication is a national shame. People with disabilities face barriers every single day, whether it's trying to find a job, accessing transportation, or affording the basics they need to survive. The New Democrats have been fighting hard to make sure that the disability benefit is livable, accessible, and delivered without delay. We're also pushing to extend dental care.
Thank you, Taylor. Sean?
Okay, you'll notice I won't be scripted tonight. I'm going to speak to you from the heart. I've been out in community for 33 years, and we like to say that people are handy-capable, not disabled. People are able to do things. We believe in the program in our culture that is a hand up, not a handout. We implemented years ago a program through the Salvation Army. It was a work for food program. People want jobs, they want to be healthy. Yes, there is restrictions, but there is ways to get people moving.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Hi, so the way to help people on ODSP is, number one, make sure that the agencies that are put in place to help people with disabilities and the services that they need to utilize, make sure that those agencies are actually doing their job and do what they say on the internet, because sometimes, you know, there's a lot of fat being spent at the bureaucratic level. And next, we want to make sure that everybody knows that everyone is struggling. Inflation, if we balance the budget by cutting the spending, we can then cut taxes and make it more affordable to live.
Thank you. Candidates, are we good, or anyone else want to comment on this? Are we good to move on? Oh, okay, we'll send it to Donna.
All right. Next question is for Jim, and it's from Jennifer in Strathroy. What specific policies will you implement to create new jobs and stimulate economic growth in Canada, and specifically jobs in our riding?
Thank you. That's a great question. The Green Party has a number of programs designed to create strong communities so that we can create employment within the community. Part of the difficulty we have is that in Canada, it doesn't help to have a job available in the next province. We need to have jobs available locally. And so we promote local supply chains, and we have an innovation fund for creating strong communities. One of the creative solutions which we've come up with in view of the tariff threat is the creation of a civil defense force, which would create 120,000 jobs across Canada. The Civil Defense Force would work in conjunction with the military to protect our communities, but it also provides a source of employment for those who may be disadvantaged by other industries impacted by the tariffs. Thank you.
Thank you. Kent?
Thank you. Mark Carney, we currently have 700,000 jobs in the energy sector. By investing in critical mineral extraction supply chain and reducing resilience on other countries, we can kickstart the clean energy and supply chain by investing in critical minerals. Get clean energy project up and quickly across Canada. That's going to employ a lot of people. We'll secure Canada's energy and electricity sovereignty by working with provinces and territories to building an east.
Thank you. Taylor?
The New Democrats believe that we need to buy Canada, build Canada. We deserve a government that has their backs, not just with slogans, but with real support. We need to ensure that we cut the red tape that's hurting small operations and keep the protections that support workers in our communities. We need to invest in local procurement so public dollars are spent here in Middlesex-London and not shipped out to multinational corporations. We need to fix broken promises and help that were made during the pandemic and left too many small businesses without the supports they require.
Thank you, Taylor. Sean?
I believe Canada is the richest country in the world when it comes to natural resources. We have everything we need right here in our own country, in our own backyard. We need to focus on what we have and focus on who we are as Canadians and do what we can for ourselves. We have been giving away too much for too long. I believe that there has been even an increase of things gone missing in our country, and we have to take a stand for what we have and make it work. There's many people that are capable and able.
Thank you. Cynthia?
So to bring jobs back to Middlesex-London and to increase jobs all over Canada, we need to increase our productivity. We need to invest in Canada rather than putting our money overseas in different projects that are wasteful. We need to invest in Canada. We need to have confidence. We need to cut the red tape so that we're welcoming foreign and internal businesses to bloom. We need to make sure that the capital gains tax is abolished, and we need to make sure that corporate welfare is gone.
Thank you. Leanne?
Conservatives believe in putting Canada first, and we have a Canada First economic action plan that has a goal to boost Canada's economic activity by $500 billion over the next 5 years. We want to cut income taxes by 15%, cut the GST on new home builds and lower development charges so we build more houses, and train 350,000 new apprentices over the next 5 years with expanded union training and innovation programs, and restore the $4,000 apprenticeship grant that the Liberals cancelled. I've been to numerous ribbon cuttings in this area, and we need to put our workers back to work.
Thank you. Anybody else with Jim? Okay.
We're good?
We're good.
All right, our next question is for Kent, and it comes from Michael in Strathroy. What's your strategy to reduce Canada's greenhouse gas emissions and meet climate targets, not only nationally, but within the riding?
That's a good question. Now that we've cut the carbon tax, Prime Minister Carney is going to look at different ways to affect change in that area. We're going to I'm sorry, I can't remember.
Ken, did you want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
We'll just continue on with the time that you left off at.
Yeah.
What's your strategy to reduce Canada's greenhouse gas emissions and meet climate targets, not only nationally, but within the riding? And you have about a minute left on your allotted time.
Okay, thank you. I mean, electric vehicles seems to be the way to go and be more environmentally friendly. I think we can do it. They're building a battery plant in St. Thomas, and we can definitely benefit on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor?
Climate change is real and scary. Wildfires, storms, raising temperatures. We need to ensure that our action on climate change brings Canadians together and not drags us further apart. There are no jobs on a dead planet. We know that we have some of the worst environmental records in the G7, and we have spent billions of dollars of public money to big companies in 2024. We need to ensure that we have a Canada that is protected through environmental crises.
Thank you. Sean?
Well, haven't had a lot of those questions while I've been out talking to people. They're focused a lot more on other things, but I know that the one thing that they've been talking about is recycling and waste and garbage disposal. A lot of our communities had been consumed for these items. They're wondering why we're shipping garbage across the border and their garbage is coming back over the border. For me, I think that the electric program is overrated.
Thank you. 30 seconds goes fast, candidates. Just it's like a commercial on the radio. Cynthia?
So the People's Party of Canada, we don't have any plan to reduce because we don't we're not climate alarmism people. In fact, CO2 is beneficial for agriculture, and there has recently been a measurable greening of the world, in part thanks to higher levels. Despite what global warming propaganda claims, CO2 is not a pollutant. It is an essential ingredient for life on Earth and needed for plant growth. Therefore, we will prioritize support for Canadians and stop sending billions of dollars to developing countries to help them reduce theirs, and we will promote the private sector to find solutions.
Thank you. Leanne.
Conservatives don't believe in punishing Canadians with a punitive carbon tax, especially when we're less than 2% of global emissions. What we do believe in is innovation and green technology, which we're very good at in this country. We believe in sharing that with the world to help reduce global emissions. We have made in Canada solutions for green technology and emission reductions for coal-fired plants, and we also have clean energy that we can export to the world to help them reduce their emissions.
Thank you. Jim.
In Canada, our per capita emissions are amongst the highest in the world. The Green Party believes in science. We have a number of programs, including cap and trade and placing limits on sectors which produce the greatest pieces of carbon emissions. It's a critical thing which we need to do.
Thank you. Are we good to move on, candidates? Okay, thank you. We'll turn it over to Donna.
All right, next question is for Taylor, and it's from Mary in Mount Bridges. What's your plan to address the housing affordability crisis in Canada? And how will you ensure all Canadians have access to safe and affordable housing?
Could you repeat the question, please?
What's your plan to address the housing affordability crisis in Canada? And how will you ensure all Canadians have access to safe and affordable housing?
Well, as we know, rent in our community has doubled. Home ownership is just a dream for many. That's not normal, and it's not sustainable. In London, the average rent is over $2,000. In rural areas, investors are scooping up properties and pushing it back out onto locals. The NDP will build 500,000 affordable rent-controlled homes, use public land for non-for-profit and co-op housing, crack down on corporate landlords, and support first-time buyers with better financing. We know that we have lost over 800,000 affordable homes, and we have enabled corporate landlords in the past. It's time to make housing a human right, and I'm ready to treat it like it's one.
Thank you. Sean?
Prioritize affordable housing for families. Introduce policies that prioritize family units and housing initiatives, ensuring affordable homes for parents raising children. Allocate land for affordable housing developments specifically designed for families. Provide subsidized mortgages and for young married couples that are raising families. Together we will make Canada united, strong, and prosperous. Also just want to add, we want to focus on reducing the cost of living.
Okay. Cynthia?
So housing is basically a provincial issue, but we're going to help cool down an overheated market. We're going to reduce the Bank of Canada's inflation target. We're going to respect local planning. We're going to prioritize or dismantle the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. We're going to restrict foreign home buyers, and we're going to reduce immigration, which is absolutely the main cause of our housing problem.
Thank you. Leanne?
We're going to build the homes. We're going to axe the federal sales tax on all new homes up to $1.3 million, which will save homeowners up to $65,000 and $3,000 in annual mortgage payments. This will spark the creation of 36,000 new homes. We will incentivize municipalities to free up land, speed up permits, and cut red tape and development charges and to build 15% more homes each year. Taxes and development charges are now more than 30% of new home costs in Ontario, and combining these will lower the cost of a new home by up to $115,000.
Thank you. Jim?
This is a complex issue. It requires coordination between the federal, provincial, and municipal levels. And there are a number of factors. We need to build more affordable housing, which means putting regulations on developers. It means increasing the density of housing in cities while protecting farmland and wetland areas which should be set aside. Thank you.
Kent?
Thank you. A Mark Carney-led government will double the pace of construction to almost 500,000 new homes a year. with housing plan that will create Build Canada homes to get federal government back into the business of home building. Make the housing network, and by capitalizing private capital and cutting red tape and lowering the cost of home building. And eliminate the goods and services tax for the first-time home buyers on homes that are under $1 million, saving families up to $50,000 on the purchase of their home.
Thank you. Did anybody else have a comment?
I just want to add about the fiscal responsibility that our nation has to come back to. There's been just too much illegal activity. There's been too much corrupt spending, no accountability. We've got to bring it back to the foundation of truth. There has to be accountability. None of this will work unless it starts at the top and works its way down.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question is for Sean. We'll give you a little bit more than 30 seconds for this one, Sean. From Derek in Delaware. With the current tariff battle between Canada and the U.S., what's your strategy to address threats against our sovereignty, and how will you protect and help protect Canada's interests at home and abroad? For a minute, 30 seconds, Sean.
Didn't even mention the big name. Sorry. Okay. Canada needs a strong leader with strong negotiating skills, with a Canada First strategy, one that represents the needs of Canadians, stands for values of its citizens as well as identity. The United Party of Canada will do more able to address the homelessness. It is of our opinion that Canada has always been a close ally and friend to our US neighbors. We believe that the leadership of our ally across the border is trying to point out what we need to change. They're addressing what they're willing to do as an ally to help us if we will bring the changes forth. Too much is infiltrating our country. Too much is coming across our border. The tariffs are just a statement to focus on the real issue. Tariffs are there to get our attention with what's really going on right now. It's time to bring the truth out. We can't keep hiding the real issues. The tariffs are only a smokescreen of really what's going on. I believe it's time to realize that US has always been our ally, not our enemy. And it's time to remove the corruption in our nation and get things cleaned up and stop the infiltration of illegal immigration, drugs, and gang-related activity.
Thank you. Cynthia.
So the People's Party of Canada, we say negotiate rather than retaliate. The United States, let's face it, we cannot win a trade war with a country whose trade power is 10 times bigger than ours. So we say, let's sit down on the table, be grown-ups, and remember they are our friends, and open up the free trade agreement now instead of in 2026.
Thank you. Leanne?
Well, first and foremost, we're in the situation we are in right now thanks to the Liberal government and the policies that they have had over the last 10 years. That's a direct result of these policies from the Liberal government. Conservatives are committed to freeing up interprovincial trade to allow something that will boom our economy by more than $32 billion. We face many barriers in this country, and we need to open up those barriers, and we won't back down to bullying tactics, and we'll fight fire with fire on the tariff and trade agreements that don't prioritize the needs of Canada. We will prioritize the needs of Canada.
Thank you. Jim?
I don't believe you can negotiate with someone who doesn't, whose word means nothing. So I agree with Leanne. It's a question of we have to dig in, we have to fight. The Green Party believes in creating a fund which is used for targeted subsidies so that we can address the sectors that are most impacted by tariff action, because we don't know what it's going to be next week, do we? Thank you.
Thank you. Kent?
Thank you. Mark Carney-led government will stand against President Trump's tariffs, create new jobs, cut taxes for the middle class, and build the fastest growing economy in the G7. Liberals or Canada strong.
Thank you. Taylor?
When I think about Donald Trump and the existential crisis that is America, I struggle to differentiate that from what has been the existential crisis of my entire life. I've watched a housing collapse. I've seen a recession. I've grown up through unprecedented times. And what I need in Parliament is someone that has my community's back, someone that's going to ensure that my basic needs are met so that we can have a strong economy, and we will do that with an NDP government.
Thank you. Are we good to, Cynthia, for 30 seconds? Go ahead.
I just want to remind everyone here that retaliatory tariffs are tariffs that Canadians will pay on goods coming in. And so when they come in, it's not the Americans that are getting shot in the foot, it's us.
Thank you. Sean, for 30.
Just want to say again, the real reason for the tariffs being set in place is because Canada is at a security risk to the U.S. We must tighten our borders and stop the flow of drugs, sex trafficking, illegal immigration, provide funding to our military and border security. We have to make the change, people.
Anyone else? Are we good to move on, candidates? Thank you. Donna?
Okay, next question is for Cynthia, and it's from Tracy in Melbourne. What policies will you implement to support students and make post-secondary education more accessible?
Thank you for the question. So the policy that we're going to enable to support students is that we're going to balance the budget in 1 year so that we don't have that inflation coming back on those students in 20 years in the form of taxes. We are going to make hope again for the young people by reducing mass immigration, actually putting a moratorium on it so they can get part-time jobs to support themselves while they're in school, which they can't do right now for the most part. And we're going to set and make it a hopeful country so that they can buy homes, they can buy family homes, not live in high rises if they want to or not. So that's how the People's Party of Canada is going to do. We're going to take back, make the hard decisions, cut the spending so that they have hope for the future.
Thank you. Leanne?
Well, having been a student for many years, a big chunk of what I had to spend my money on as a student was housing and food. And our grocery bills are through the roof, our housing costs have doubled, and students are feeling the pinch, I think, more than anybody. But we have a plan to bring down inflation, to get grocery prices back under control, eliminating the carbon tax, but also to train 350,000 new apprentices because we need skilled tradespeople to build the homes, to bring down the cost of homes in this country.
Thank you. Jim?
Well, as you know, education is a provincial matter, and the federal government can certainly have dialogue to influence the improvement of educational systems, but ultimately it's the provincial government which determines how education is delivered.
Thank you. Kent?
Thank you. Yes, he's correct. It's provincial. But Mark Carney's commitment to new young people, $8,000 to train them to get into the workforce. I think that's amazing. And people that are already in the workforce that lose their jobs are getting $15,000 for retraining. Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor?
As I mentioned earlier, as a millennial and my whole life being a crisis, I struggled to make it through post-secondary school education. My brother, who's 4 years younger than me, has a very different opinion on school. Why take on the debt? Why put myself out there? What am I going to gain? There are no jobs out there available for what I want to do. The despair that young people face blends into all of these things, whether it be education, raising a family, buying a house. We need to ensure that people's basic needs are met so they can go to school. You can't go to school.
Thank you. Sean?
Good word, despair. What's the definition of despair? Well, when you don't have a say, when we're talking about the provincial government being in a position to oversee these things with the utmost federal influence, bringing power to a position that it doesn't belong in. And so our problem is standing up for our rights and freedoms and letting children be taught the morals of society and not ideologies that are corrupting them.
Cynthia?
So I just wanted to add that anytime the Liberals make new spending and new programs, that comes out of taxpayers' pockets. That's not money that's just available. We know it's not because there's a $60 billion debt on the books right now. And so any new programs that are happening that are tantalizing voters, remember, there's no money for them.
Thank you. Leanne?
I would just like to add that with the 350,000 new apprenticeships, we are going to work with the unions over the next 5 years to expand the UTIP program, the Union Training and Innovation Program, restore the $4,000 apprenticeship grant that the Liberals cancelled, but most importantly, unleash our natural resources and get our economy moving so we can actually have more money in this country to afford the things and give people the things they need, including education and healthcare.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is for Leanne, and it's from Bill in Middlesex Center. What measures will you take and what can you help with to protect Canada's natural environment, both federally and in the new riding of Middlesex-London?
Well, thank you very much, Bill, for the question. Canada is blessed with an abundance of natural resources, and unfortunately, over the last number of years, we've seen the Liberals shut down our natural resource sector. We have countries banging on our door, asking for liquefied natural gas, asking for the critical minerals, especially the liquefied natural gas to get off of their dirty burning fuels for heating in their countries. And we want to unleash Canada's natural energy corridor. We want to fast track approvals for critical infrastructure across Canada in a pre-approved transport corridor entirely within Canada. Approved transmission lines, railways, pipelines, and other infrastructure that will transport our resources within Canada to the world while bypassing the US. We will end our energy dependence on the US and unleash Canada's economy. Repeal the new No Pipelines law and tanker ban to build the new pipelines and LNG terminals to export our oil and gas. We will also bring in a 6-month approvals for decisions on resource project applications to cut the red tape, to cut the bureaucracy, and get our natural resources out of the ground and to those around the world who are asking for them.
Thank you. Jim?
The Green Party will act to protect farmland, to protect wetlands. We will ensure that development is restricted in those areas. And we have a history of working with First Nations who have been the stewards of this land for the last 10,000 years, and on whose traditional lands we now sit. Thank you.
Thank you. Kent?
Thank you. Could you repeat the question again, please?
What measures will you take and how can you help protect Canada's natural environment, both federally and here in Middlesex-London?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not sure that I don't have an answer for that one.
Okay, would you like us to move on? That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, Taylor?
The NDP will create thousands of good-paying jobs by investing in clean energy, energy-efficient, affordable homes, electric transit, and zero-emission vehicles. These are the steps we need to ensure that we protect our natural resources, that we invest in the infrastructure we need to ensure we all have clean air and clean water for our children and our grandchildren.
Thank you. Sean?
Okay, I'm gonna just mention that the United Party of Canada will withdraw from all the United Nations and post-nationalist initiatives that infringe on Canada's sovereignty. These include the United Nations, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, and the Paris Climate Accord, and any other restrictive global climate accords. These organizations impose policies that undermine Canadian sovereignty and independence, weaken our economy, and erode our national values. Canada's laws must be made in Canada by Canadians. This will give us the power to reinstate and rebuild.
Thank you. Cynthia?
So the People's Party of Canada, we will protect Canada's natural environment. We will do it by protecting the farmland from urban sprawl and from overpopulation. And so again, I go back to the problem with mass migration, mass immigration. We're going to put a moratorium on that because the environmental impact of more people is making urban sprawl happen. And we're going to ensure that First Nations, including in Middlesex-London, have clean drinking water, which they haven't had for 3 years.
Thank you. We good, candidates, to move on? We good? Okay, Donna?
Okay, next question is for Jim, and it's from Michelle in Strathroy. With regards to domestic violence and intimate partner violence, many crimes are committed when a perpetrator is under a restraining order. What would your party do to better protect children, women, and their families?
Thank you. That's a fantastic question because it's a critical issue for our society right now. We need to have more protections in place to protect victims of domestic violence. The current system of restraining orders is not adequate, and we need to make sure that we can actually prevent through monitoring close contact between someone who is threatening their partner and the victim. We also need, I believe, more in-community supports so that women who are going through this crisis can reach out and get help from community services to help protect them. I have seen this firsthand in my life, and it is it's an important educational issue for men. Men need to learn to respect women better than they do now. And that's a universal problem, I believe, in our society, that we need to engage in this re-education because there's a fundamental lack of respect, which I don't know where it comes from a paternalistic society, but it needs to be fixed.
Okay, thank you. Kent?
Yeah, thank you. The issue with violence is not good. The Canadian government right now is getting 1,000 more RCMP officers, and we're going to cut down on guns coming across from the United States. It's a huge issue. You know, a lot of rules that they're putting in with the gun control. It's certainly going to help the situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor?
As a frontline child and youth worker, I've seen the lived realities and the danger of intimate partner violence in this very community. And I know from my experience that women are often ignored and not thought about, whether it be in budgets or boardrooms. Something that prevents women from being able to escape intimate partner violence is the fact that we don't have accessible, affordable childcare. We do not have flexible policies that keep them safe. We do not have the ability to ensure that their needs are protected.
Thank you. Sean?
Thank you. Strong, healthy families are the bedrock of Canadian society. Our tax system will support and encourage families who are having and raising children. There's a saying where I come from, and it says, we live amongst a fatherless society. Every woman deserves to have a mom and a dad, but also a father that watches over them. Women need to be protected. Violence or any type of aggression should be illegal, and it should be dealt with in a very dramatic way.
Thank you. Cynthia?
So I worked in a women's shelter on a First Nations reserve for 12 years. I know exactly what intimate partner violence, it's actually gender specific. We know that women are 10 times more likely for more severe intimate partner violence. So the first thing that we need to do is get tougher on the perpetrators. No more fooling around. They go into court, then they get released. We need to put tougher sentences down. We need training for the courts to understand what domestic violence is. It's not just anger. And we need to decrease immigration because since 2015, we haven't been able to find safe houses for women.
Thank you. Leanne?
A Conservative government will create a new offence of assault of an intimate partner to deliver tougher sentences for anyone who abuses an intimate partner, require strict bail conditions for anyone accused, with any breach of conditions resulting in immediate imprisonment, end the senseless practice of downgrading the murder of an intimate partner to manslaughter because of a claim of so-called crime of passion, and make sure that the murder of an intimate partner, one's own child, or a partner's child will be treated as a first-degree murder.
Thank you. Any follow-up from anybody? Jim? Sorry? Okay, sorry.
I believe that intimate partner violence is a systemic issue that we see growing in our communities because we do not have the social security and the infrastructure to support our families. We need to ensure that we have we have individuals in Parliament that are going to put families first, especially women, at the heart of all policies that are made.
Did Jim want to, did you?
No, Jim,
Okay.
we're good. Sorry, Sean, did you want to follow up?
Yeah, parents, not the government, will raise their children. Canada must embrace the culture and value of life by banning such acts. We have to take a stand on what is right and what is wrong and speak up about it.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Domestic violence numbers are going to go up because we're having more migration from countries that do not respect women and equality. Also, we're going to have more problems because we've got booze in the corner stores. We know alcohol is a direct contributor to family violence and domestic violence. We also have cannabis stores more plentiful than Tim Hortons on every corner. Those are the things that contribute to intimate partner violence.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 3 questions left. This next question is for Kent, and it comes from a downtown Mount Bridges business owner. How will you support and help to support small businesses and entrepreneurs in Canada and in your riding, and what initiatives, if any, will you implement to promote innovation?
That's a good question. We want to protect our businesses as much as we can, and we're going to obviously build stuff now in Canada, and we're going to, like right now, we take our fruits and vegetables, we ship them to the States, they can them there, and they ship them back. So why don't we build places where we can can it ourselves? You know, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a lot more jobs, you know. What's the second part of the question? Sorry.
What initiatives, if any, Kent, would you try to implement to promote innovation?
Well, that's a good question. Sorry, I don't have a.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Taylor for 30 seconds.
Right now, we know that small businesses are being squeezed from every side, whether it's rising costs, supply chain issues, high commercial rents, while still recovering from the impacts of the pandemic. Many of them are barely able to keep the lights on. We need an economy where small businesses don't just survive, but they thrive. That means a government that is focused on people, not just profits. And that is what the NDP is fighting for, and I will champion that as your MP.
Thank you. Sean?
Okay, I think we have to look again at the federal mandate so that it'll land in our own backyard. The influence that keeps coming from the federal level is influencing our province and municipalities. We have to understand it begins at the top and it has to be changed for the everyday business owner to be able to succeed. There should be business grants, and there should be programs assisting people to be entrepreneurs. We have to get a new mandate. We have to look at it differently.
Thank you. Cynthia?
So I can tell you what we will do to support small businesses. We will make vaccine mandates and passports gone. During the COVID problem that we had, we closed down mom and pop stores and allowed big businesses to open. That's wrong. We will abolish COVID passports and mandates, and we will never make that happen again. And we will make a flat tax for business, eliminate corporate welfare, carbon tax gone, capital gains tax gone. Small businesses will not have to compete with the big box stores.
Thank you. Leanne?
Government red tape costs businesses at least $51 billion annually. So we will introduce a 2-for-1 law mandating that 2 regulations will be repealed for every new one imposed. We will also require that for every $1 in new administrative costs, $2 must be cut elsewhere to relieve the government burden. Passing a law to require the Auditor General to verify them every year. I've heard from many businesses this is one of the #1 issues for our small businesses is the red tape that the government has and how much paperwork they have to fill out. We're committed to cutting that.
Thank you. Jim?
The Green Party is committed to building strong communities, which means local employment. We would have a reduction in the small business tax. We have an innovation fund that would can be tapped by small businesses for trying new ideas and technologies, and we would expand the temporary foreign worker program to provide a lower cost workforce for small businesses.
Thank you. Sean for 30.
Okay, thanks. I believe that the United Party of Canada has put policies in place to fight to lower the cost of living and to lower taxes, to bring it back into our communities, to focus on the entrepreneurs and small business owners, to let the people put their influx of hard work and cash back into society and live as normal once again.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Donna.
All right, this question is for Taylor. It's from a personal support worker in Park Hill. What initiatives will you implement to support mental health and well-being in your riding and across Canada?
Excuse me. Mental health is health, but too many Canadians are waiting for services or paying out of pocket. People in our riding face months-long wait lists or no services at all. I've seen the toll this takes on our vulnerable populations and the communities I serve. The NDP will ensure that we cover the costs of therapy and addictions care under public health, expand access to youth and rural residents, invest in community-based supports and crisis response, and decriminalize substance use and focus on harm reduction. We know that we cannot rely on a patchwork system. We must ensure that we have harm reduction services and supports in all of our communities to actually reduce harm. No more stigma, no more waiting. Mental health must be universal and it must be accessible.
Thank you. Sean?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What initiatives will you implement to support mental health and well-being in your riding and in Canada?
Okay, the stigma of mental health has to be addressed. It is an illness. It could even be called a disease. But when someone's in dis-ease, they're not productive. They need an outlet. They need a safe place to go. They need a safe ear to listen to what they're saying. We believe in what we call communication therapy. People have to be heard. People with mental health are not dysfunctional. They are just ill and they can recover.
Thank you. Cynthia?
We need to stop causing people to be anxious. We need to make life better. The anxiety, the depression, the drug use, the porn addiction, it all went up when we were locked down during the COVID. So we need to stop causing people, we need to bring hope back to people. We need to encourage people to get outdoors instead of sit on technology. We also need to stop this safer drug supply because it's not safer.
Thank you. Leanne?
Conservatives will increase interprovincial health transfer payments so that Canadians have better access and quicker access to services. The 988 suicide prevention phone number that happened in this country was because of Conservatives putting that forward. Mental health must be taken seriously, and we need to increase the availability of and accessibility of all mental health services, especially in our rural areas that seem to be lacking in those services. And we will protect the best interests of our vulnerable Canadians.
Thank you. Jim?
I find myself in a position of agreeing with Leanne. When Medicare was first started, it was funded 50% by the provinces, 50% by the federal government. The federal government now only funds 17% of healthcare, which is why we have a healthcare crisis. And we need to increase that funding so that we can get back on track.
Thank you. Kent?
Thank you. In Canada, mental health solutions encompass a range of resources, including crisis lines, therapy, community services, and specialized support. Currently, our government is doing these things, and I think under Carney, he's going to improve it, take it higher than the 17%.
Thank you. Any rebuttals? Cynthia?
Hi, I'm a Canadian certified addiction counselor, and I can tell you that the pendulum on harm reduction has swung so far it would make your head spin. When I got into the business 20 years ago, harm reduction was on the continuum to abstinence. We no longer encourage abstinence. We enable people to continue to live their lives in a state of dysfunction, and so that's wrong. So there's no evidence that harm reduction works. There's no and the decriminalization, I just ask you to look at Vancouver and see what's helping, if it's helping or not. Look at our streets. The safer drug supply, so-called, is not working.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment? Sean?
Yeah. I would just like to reiterate, I do have to agree with a couple of my representatives on the other end. The fear-mongering that we went through during COVID and the agenda to trap us in our own homes, to allow healthcare workers not to go to work without being forced into an agenda. These things have to stop. They have been removed temporarily, but we have to remember what happened, and we have to take a stand and put it all back into common practice.
Thank you. Leanne?
Touch on what my colleague Cynthia said. We've seen in London an increase in the drug use, and we've seen homelessness. And we will treat the addictions. We need to treat the addictions that people on our streets have with compassion and accountability, and not with more payer-funded drugs. We need to invest in recovery, cut off federal funding for opioids, and defund the drug den so that we can bring our loved ones home drug-free. We need to fund treatment for 50,000 Canadians in treatment centers with a proven record of success. This funding will allow results.
Thank you.
Okay. Our final question, and once again, thank you to the members of the public who submitted questions over the last week and a half. This will be for Sean, and it comes from Heather in Delaware. What steps will you take to advance Indigenous reconciliation and address the disparities faced by Indigenous communities?
Okay. Well, I'm proud to say that I was able to spend a few years amongst the First Nations people as a minister, getting to know the culture, getting to know the people. I was widely accepted as an outsider. They didn't treat me as such, but you know that you are in a sense, because they've always been treated indifferently. The one thing that they're looking for is to be accepted as a First People. They prefer to be known for their culture, and we should be educating children and families more so in our culture about what we can do to get to know them better and how to be a good neighbor. I think the cry that I heard most often on the reserves was that the government and the legislation just did not care. I don't believe that's true. I just believe we need a new government. I believe we have to look at the First Nations people. I heard someone say that they haven't had clean water for 3 years. It goes much deeper than that. They've been overlooked for generations. They are a First Nations people. They are full of integrity, and they know how to love. But shall we love them back?
Thank you. Cynthia.
Hi there. I work on a First Nations community. I'm a Native community worker, traditional Aboriginal healing graduate. I have seen so many wonderful things from the First Nations people. The People's Party government will replace the Indian Act. The Indian Act is a racist act. It's paternalistic. It keeps Indigenous people in a state of dependency. We're going to respect the Constitution and treaties. We're going to explore on-reserve property rights. We're going to promote service ownership, and we're going to review federal spending to make sure the money's getting where it should be for the people.
Thank you. Leanne.
Conservatives believe in working with our Indigenous peoples through economic reconciliation, through partnership. Conservatives support Indigenous-led economic development as the key to prosperity. We will work with First Nations to unlock opportunities in resources development, infrastructure, and entrepreneurship. Conservatives honor treaty obligations and support the right of Indigenous peoples to self-determination and self-governance. We will work with communities to build capacity for local governance, education, and policing. And we will make sure that our First Nations have access to clean drinking water.
Thank you. Jim?
The Truth and Reconciliation Commission lays out a number of clear recommendations. The recommendations are the same, essentially, as the recommendations made in the 19 1995 Governor General's Royal Commission on First Nations. And what frustrates me most is that both the Liberals and the Conservatives have dragged their feet on implementing any of these recommendations. And it's time that we did more than just land acknowledgements. We need to take concrete action in addressing the inequities.
Thank you. Kent?
Yeah, thank you. The Indigenous people of our riding, unfortunately, the water there is not very good. There is a program right now where they're bringing water down from Lake Huron. It hasn't happened yet. I don't know why. I'm very passionate about the Indigenous people, and I'm certainly going to make sure that gets done. Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor?
Reconciliation is not optional. It is the foundation of a just Canada. Many Indigenous people in our region still face basic rights violations like boil water advisories and housing shortages. There are still over 30 long-term boil water advisories in Canada. We would never accept that in Toronto or in London. Why should First Nations? The NDP will fully implement the TRC calls to action, ensure clean drinking water, housing, and healthcare. I believe that...
Sorry, Taylor.
It's a short one.
Anyone else? Sean, go ahead for 30.
Just a little rebuttal. Being a person that has been called to be amongst the people of all cultures, being in community, listening to people, talking to people, getting to know the people, eating food with the people, and being invited to their homes. The First Nations people don't like being called Indigenous people. I bet you none of you know that, because when you sit with them, they're saying, why are they always calling you Indigenous people? It's a term we've created. They like to be known as First Nation people. They were here first, and we need to respect that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Just before we turn it over to Donna, I just want to let our viewers know and those in attendance that the candidates were given topics, possible topics, but we're not given questions. So thank you very much for taking the questions from the public. Donna?
We're going to move ahead to our closing statements. Just a reminder that you each have 2 minutes, and Chris will be timing you. And we're going to start at the opposite end of the table. Sean, you go first.
Well, me? Okay. Well, I'm going to acknowledge Donna. You did a wonderful job tonight. You didn't get an honorable mention at the beginning. So thank you again for having me tonight. This actually is my first discussion on panel. I've never had this opportunity. I want to let you know that. I think being genuine and transparent is a key. So in my closing, I'm going to say this. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for this opportunity. It was a privilege to speak on behalf of the constituents of Middlesex-London and all Canadians. As your MP of Middlesex-London, I would bring truth and integrity and be a voice for what is best for Canadians and the constituents of this riding. The United Party of Canada believes that every Canadian has the right to live in freedom, prosperity, and security. The nation of Canada must be led by those who will put Canadians first, protecting their rights, freedoms, and a way of life. We stand for real lasting change, defending faith, family, and fundamental liberties. The government is there to serve the people, not the other way around. Canada will once again thrive. It's time to take back our country and forge a nation. The United Party of Canada is not just a campaign, it's a movement. Thank you for this opportunity. Rogers, Chris, Soares, again, the Portuguese club that hosted this event. Those watching at home, I hope that you know enough to go and vote properly. And to all of you here tonight, thank you for supporting us.
Thank you, Sean. Cynthia? Sorry, Taylor, going the wrong way.
I'm running because I've also lived so many of these struggles that you're facing, and I'm ready to help build those solutions. As a mom, frontline worker, and proud member of this community, I have felt the weight of a system that too far often leaves people behind. I've seen the effects of poverty policies in the families I support, in the challenges of raising a young child and caring for my aging parents at the same time. My beliefs are rooted in equity, accessibility, and lived experiences, not political games. This isn't politics as usual. This is about people. This is about real communities and real change. As we recover from a global pandemic and face new threats like climate change and Trump-style extremism, Canadians deserve a leadership that is grounded in unity, dignity, and security. I am ready to fight for what really matters, and with an NDP in Parliament, we can cap prices on essential groceries, build homes, cap rent, hire doctors and nurses, protect our public health care, cut taxes for working families, and make the billionaires finally pay their share. Stand up for Canada with courage and principle. The rich and powerful have had government after government. It's now our turn. It's the people's time. As a millennial, I've been told to work harder and harder, and the goalposts keep moving and moving, and I know I'm not alone. Too many Canadians feel like they're falling behind while the rich keep pulling ahead. We deserve a Canada where we are not managing crisis after crisis, and we start building the future we deserve. That means policies built with people, not forced on them. It means representation that reflects reality. Because it's not someone else's child, it's not someone else's community, it's all of ours. And when everyone's basic needs are met, everyone can thrive. I want to help build a stronger, fairer, more united Canada.
Thank you, Taylor. Kent.
Thank you. I didn't share much about myself in my opening remarks, so I'd like to take a moment to do that now. You may have noticed I'm not a polished public speaker. Unfortunately, I may have stumbled over a few answers tonight, and there's a good reason for that. About 20 years ago, I suffered a serious accident which resulted in a brain injury. This is why my left side of my face is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it doesn't seem quite to match the other side. But I've rebuilt my life. I've been a proud father of my son, Owen. I've given back to my community through the Optimist Club and the Port Stanley Library and the VON. And while I've never been the smoothest speaker, I hope we all agree that's not what makes a good member of Parliament. What matters is showing up, listening, and working hard. And that's what I do every single day. I will listen to every constituent in the riding, not just your concerns, but your hopes and dreams too. I'll work relentlessly to represent your interests in the House of Commons, and when I'm not in Ottawa, I'll be right here in Middlesex-London. Gets every benefit possible from our Liberal government programs and policies. I'm not in this for fame or the pension. I'm doing this because I believe in service and because I want to inspire other people with disabilities to contribute in their own powerful ways. Canada is strong, we respect each other's differences, and we can come together to do great things. I'm honored to serve as your first member of Parliament for Middlesex-London. I'm Kent Keenan, your Liberal candidate, and I'd like to thank the Portuguese Club, Rogers, the guests watching on TV, and the awesome audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for listening, either in the audience or at home. Thank you to Rogers and the Portuguese Canadian Club for making this possible. I would encourage you to do your research before you vote. I believe that your vote sends a message. The purpose of voting is kind of twofold. One of the reasons that we vote is so we can decide who the member of Parliament is. But the second reason for voting is that when we vote for a party that has specific beliefs, we send a message to all the other parties that these beliefs are important and that they need to be observed. This is my 5th federal election, and you may have noticed I've never won, okay? But I'm not discouraged by that, because I believe that I've helped get a message out that in fact things that may not be on the front burner in this election are still important. I believe that we need a voice of moderation. I thought it was very interesting tonight that I sit between the Liberal and the Conservative, because I believe that we are a balanced party in the middle that uses science to determine what the best move forward is, uses best practices to figure out what the right social policies are. And 10 years from now, we will have forgotten about Donald Trump and we'll have forgotten about tariffs. The climate will be much, much worse. They're all important issues. Housing is important, healthcare. We need to look at all of these things at the same time. My party has an integrated set of policies to address all of it. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Leanne?
Thank you once again to Rogers for hosting this debate and the Portuguese Club for hosting us here tonight. And thank you to all of you who are in the audience watching here, and for those of you who are on TV watching us. This election is about changing a government, not just about changing a government. It's about restoring confidence in the country built by hardworking Canadians. I've spoken with seniors across Middlesex-London who've worked hard, raised families, paid their taxes, and contributed to their community. They tell me they no longer recognize the country that they helped shape. Costs are rising, communities feel less safe, and our young people are struggling to see a future for themselves here at home. I've spoken with many young families and the message is similar. How can they afford a home and feed their families when the Liberals keep making life more expensive? It doesn't have to be this way. Conservatives have a plan to get us back in shape. We will cut taxes, be fiscally responsible, and make life more affordable. We'll invest in infrastructure that serves real needs, like healthcare, housing, and rural services. And we'll bring integrity back to public office. Most importantly, we will protect Canada, ensure that it remains strong for generations to come. Having been your member of Parliament for 6 years, I understand that good government means living within our means, respecting taxpayers, and creating the conditions where families, seniors, and small businesses can thrive. That's the leadership that we're offering. This election is an opportunity to turn the page and restore hope for your children, for your grandchildren, for your great-grandchildren, for all Canadians who want to live in a safe, secure, and affordable country. So in this election, vote for me, Leanne Rouge, and let's bring common sense back to the Canadian government. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia?
The People's Party understand Canada needs to tackle the issues everyone knows that are happening, but no one wants to talk about. We need drastic common sense solutions and economic reform to bring Canada back on track. I want the Canada that I grew up in back. I want our children to have the same happy and hopeful life I had growing up here, and I do not intend to stand by and watch the con libs destroy it with ludicrous policies, and as they throw money at everything like it was a candy toss to children. PPC will fight for what we believe. This is not an election about tariffs. This country was on a downward spiral before them. This is an election about the total upheaval of Canadian hopes, dreams, and way of life. The Liberals have systematically disabled everything that made this country peaceful and prosperous, and sadly, the Conservatives are going right along with most of their policies. Mass immigration, addiction epidemic, loss of freedom, tyrannical overreach of power. This is what we have after 10 years of a Liberal NDP coalition. We at the People's Party care about Canadian families, from the urgent need to balance the budget, which we will do in 1 year, to the targeting of our children by teaching radical gender ideology and critical race theory in schools, by mutilating children who are gender dysphoric and offering death to our veterans instead of the help that they most certainly deserve. If you want your children to be taught morals, values, and beliefs at home and actual education in the schools, and if you want your tax dollars to be spent on preserving the family unit and be able to actually afford one, and if you believe that late-term abortion is murder, then stand with me and the PPC in bringing back conservative common sense solutions to preserve the sovereignty of our country and communities. Let's be courageous and stand side by side and vote for what you know is true and right and for what you believe. On April 28th, choose the only real Conservative party left, and please vote for me, Cynthia Workman, and the People's Party of Canada. I'd like to thank everyone here tonight, everyone online, Rogers, and the Portuguese Club for making this event happen and making it great. Thank you, everyone.